Oleksandr Usyk stuns Anthony Joshua to become the unified heavyweight champion. Saturday night's main event between Anthony Joshua and Oleksandr Usyk pitted opposing perfect attributes battling in a square circle. Joshua, with his physically gifted and imposing stature, Usyk, the cerebral boxing mastermind, able to execute at a precision level. Ultimately, Usyk proved to be a puzzle too difficult for Anthony Joshua to resolve, leading to a much entertaining unanimous decision victory for the Ukrainian, becoming the unified heavyweight champion of the world. Usyk entered hostile territory to display his exquisite boxing skill in front of the world, while a battered Anthony Joshua was left to explain what's next after suffering a second defeat of his career.
I'm just learning this game. I'm studying, I'm learning. It's part of the process. Eye closing up. As you said, 8 rounds are going well, and in the 9th, you hit a bit of a little issue happens in the fight. You've got to stay consistent. The other fighter starts putting up more pressure, starts picking up the pace. They could probably sense something in there. And then we'll come back again. I'll pick up from where we left off now, and then I'll come back and try to be better. I'm sure I'll be better the next one. I can't go back and sulk. That's wasting time. I'm going back to look at ways I can improve straight away. I've already been watching the fight and figuring out, I could have done that better already, in my mind anyway. So, yeah, I'm not too bothered. But what I'm bothered about is how much better I can get. That's where I'm putting my energy. I'm not putting my energy into sulking. I'm putting my energy into ways I can improve.
Мы настраивались на... В принципе, на то, что мы настраивались, то и было. Что я ожидал от него. Человек, олимпийский чемпион, обладал 3 поясами, очень сильный, бил очень сильно людей, они падали, не вставали. Что могу рассказать? Сильный парень, у которого были 4 пояса. На данный момент это самый большой поединок в моей карьере, но не самый трудный.
Now, Barack, if having the positive attitude about anything happening to you was a person, that would be the Anthony Joshua. I mean, all his responses are just, they're refreshing to hear from somebody who had a big loss. Now, this isn't a small loss. This is a unified heavyweight crown. I mean, he had 4 straps that he held, and people were waiting to see the results of Wilder Fury so they can have a mega showdown in the United Kingdoms. And obviously we knew that there was a possibility that Usyk can accept the apple card. But AJ's saying, Barack, that the first 8 rounds were going well. I beg to differ. And first, I want to get your thoughts overall on the night and for that particular fight.
I think it was a good fight. Of course, there's a million things I can say about Anthony Joshua's performance. But one thing I do want to say is that a lot of people are saying already, we're only a couple of days removed, but a lot of people are saying that he shouldn't take the rematch straight away, that Usyk will beat him every single time. And I beg to differ. I believe that the fight was competitive enough to warrant a rematch. I think it was competitive enough for us to expect that Joshua wants to execute his rematch clause like a champion would. Like Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard back in 1980. Sugar Ray Leonard got beat, came back months later. Who cares if Roberto Duran was overweight? It was always in Sugar Ray's mind to get back the strap, even though I got beat. You understand? And the same way he did with Ruiz. Think about Brandon Rios and Mike Alvarado. Brandon stopped Mike Alvarado. He did the same thing. Joshua did the same thing to Ruiz. Came back and unanimous decisioned him the same way Alvarado did Brandon Rios. That's what great fighters do. That unless you're just even if you're totally outclassed and you get knocked out, you should be able to switch up your game and come back. And I think that's the kind of fighter that Joshua is mentally, and I think he'll prove that. I think there were things that he could have done to win the fight. There was a time where he stunned Usyk and did not jump on him, did not mix it up, did not go to the body enough. There were so many things. He didn't fight on the inside. There were so many things I think he can improve on that I'm sure he knows, that I'm sure he does in camp, that he can do, and he doesn't need to wait a couple of years to do it.
You know, Barack, you mentioned Roberto Duran, which also made me think about Thomas the Hitman Hearn and Roberto Duran. Now, you know, first off, for those that don't know, Roberto Duran was a very skilled stalker. He wasn't a brawler. He was a very skilled fighter, as Oleksandr Usyk is. Yes, they has different styles, but, you know, people went into that fight assuming that Thomas the Hitman Hearns is going to have to use his size and his length in that fight. And at times he did, but he was an aggressive big man. And he proved that he was the harder hitter. Obviously, we saw what happened in that fight. So I just think the bigger man doesn't always have to fight on his toes. And I'm not saying Anthony Joshua did that the entire fight, because for many rounds in that fight, he was a stalker. But in stalking, you have to stalk with letting your hands go at times. And I agree with you 100%, Barack. I think that the rematch needs to happen immediately, just as it did when he fought Andy Ruiz. That whole notion that you have to take a few fights and regroup, I don't even, that goes to one ear and out the other when people say that now. It's just used so much. This guy is a heavyweight, or former heavyweight champion of the world. There's no regrouping. Yeah, the regrouping is going to happen in camp when it's time to make the adjustments for the fight that you just had. Now, I'll just say this, Barack. We all saw Anthony Joshua he was able to stun Usyk. He has the power to hurt, that heavyweight, any heavyweight for that matter. But things have to happen after you hurt a guy. And I'm not the one to go in on corners, Barack, but I watched some of the rounds afterwards, on the way home and yesterday. And a sense of urgency in your corner had to happen in that fight. That's what we would have saw. Urgency of, we have to put punches together. 1, 2, 3, 4 punch combinations. We're going to have to take some risk in there. We have to take risks because we have to apply pressure. But the moral of the story is this, Barack. A statement early in that fight needed to be made. A statement towards Usyk to let him know that you have to respect me. You cannot get this close to me. You cannot feel that comfortable getting this close to me to land that overhand left, to land all of these jabs. Because if you come in here, you're going to be met with fire. I think that statement, he tried to make it later in the fight, and it should have been done early, and I think we would have saw a different outcome. But I want to say this one last thing, Barack, and I'm sorry. I want to give all credit to Oleksandr Usyk for a hell of a performance. He deserved that victory, and I don't want to take, me pointing out Joshua's mistake doesn't mean I want to take away from his victory.
Absolutely, 100%. The Ukrainian Oleksandr Usyk was undisputed at cruiserweight, and he did what Evander Holyfield did. And we was having a conversation while we were out there on our live The Zone Boxing show, and I mentioned that. I said no one told Evander Holyfield that he was too small. Why can't Usyk do it? And he did it. Now, the thing you mentioned about Joshua being on his toes, I think he did well when he was on his toes. This is what I think the problem was. He was getting hit with that jab, that right hand. He was getting hit with the jab a lot, and that's what started to close that eye. Also the left hand as well. But that jab was just there, and it's because he was so flat foot. If you're going to be flat foot, you can't try and back up straight backwards. If you're going to be flat foot, then use that to go forward. Use that to push him forward, and use that to be aggressive, and use your size and your strength and your weight, and make it a little bit, of a tough fight. Make it a fight and not a boxing match. And I think because when he was on his toes, he can move, and he was avoiding shots. And then he started, in the middle rounds, he started doing the lead right and then ducking under. But I think that after ducking under, take that right foot forward, stay in position, bam, bam, and let your hand go either to the body or up top with a left hand. And those are just simple things that I know he can do that he didn't do, and that's why I say an immediate rematch should be done.
Thanks for watching this video. Please do subscribe All Media New York.